So the mainline's got 13,000 off select 2024 Ram 1500s right now. Okay, so Eric, you probably weren't listening to the first hour of the show. Too bad for you. But I got a wager going here with these fellas that some point of your life you owned one of these. If you're watching the stream, there it is. Did you ever own your bachelor days, a Papazan chair back in the 80s and 90s?
I got to tell you, I've seen them. I've never heard that term before. Man. I'm sorry.
I thought for sure. You seem like the bachelor guy that had the nice, neon signs in your apartment. You're having after the bar. Chairs. Everyone was coming back to Eric's. Not going to take the Papazan chair.
Oh. No, this is why you don't go sprinkling the farm, Barney. Come on, man.
Yeah, no, I would have lost big.
I got a hot tub. I've always had a hot tub. That was something that I thought was a lure back to the house, but it was just creepy in a lot of people's eyes. So that never worked either.
Well, they say that the gateway to a hot tub in the 80s was the Papazan chair. So that's why I thought for sure you would have had one. But okay, well, again, I guess I don't know you as well as I thought I do.
Sorry, you lost that bet.
No one wanted to bet me here either, so I didn't lose anything. Speaking, I might sprinkle tonight on the Florida Panthers Edmonton Oilers game rematch. If the football games are sleepers, I'll go tune into that. Florida was just in Calgary, and I saw your piece on Sam Bennett. And it's really kind of interesting to think, like, where Sam Bennett was, I forget how many years ago it was, but he was kind of almost a castaway in Calgary at one point.
It was like less than 4 years ago. He was a healthy scratch. This is their highest draft pick of all time, 4th overall, 2014. And over 6 years with the team, like he'd show up in the playoffs. He was playoff Sam Bennett. Everybody loved him. But they could never get that out of him during the regular season. And then he gets traded. He asked for that trade, goes to Florida. And I remember, I was actually going to look at the game logs, but I bet you the first game he had 2 or 3 points. Second game he had 2 or 3 points. And he lit it up into the playoffs and then through the playoffs. And now he's on Team Canada. He's got a Stanley Cup ring. It's been quite a journey for Sam Bennett, for a guy who, this organization, I'm not going to say they gave up on him, but he kind of gave up on this organization. And, I do think it's interesting. Like, Flames are looking for a centerman, and, they're looking for someone to ignite Huberdeau. And Paul Maurice was telling me on the weekend that was what Sam Bennett credits his turnaround to. Like, a fresh new opportunity, but also playing with Huberdeau. And so now you could come back here, get paid a whole lot of money. The Flames got a whole lot of money. Only one team's got more cap space than the Flames. Flames want to make a splash. They know Sam Bennett. They need a center. He's a little older than they'd like to spend on. And I'm not sure he's the answer, but I'm just telling you, I think there's a pretty interesting, I think there's some synergy there.
And you know what? You go, if you could have looked in a crystal ball when everyone was picking on him in Calgary, Eric, when I was there too, we're just talking, all they could talk about was Sam Bennett can't do any pull-ups. That's the big thing. Everybody's just talking about Sam Bennett at the combine and his pull-ups. Like, what a dumb thing. And then all of a sudden, if you could look in a crystal ball and go, you know what, Sam, it's going to turn out okay because you're going to get a Stanley Cup ring and you're going to be on Team Canada for this Four Nations Cup thing that's coming up. And you know what? You're going to be thought of one of the grittier, better forwards in the league. So don't worry about all these guys talking about the pull-ups thing.
Well, it's funny, the legend of the pull-ups is carried, through. He is remembered for that. Couldn't do a single one at the combine. But I think a lot of people forget, as part of that legend, that he came to camp that year, a whole bunch of excitement around him. And he tried to play through the pain of a shoulder injury, and he ended up missing the entire season to get shoulder surgery. So, there was a reason why he couldn't do the pull-ups, but he was trying to tough it out and show people that he could fight through it, which is kind of the way he is. He's pretty gritty, as we know. So people forget about the fact that he, soon thereafter required major repairs to that shoulder, which explains why he couldn't do a pull-up. I bet he could do a whole lot of pull-ups right now. I bet you that much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, on a fancy diamond-encrusted pull-up bar. He's made so much money. Yeah. So his last year junior, he only played 11 games. Right? Yeah, he was injured for Kingston. Bad shoulder. I watched that game. You guys are like this. I sprinkled on it. Lost because I took Florida. And I watched the game on Saturday. I don't know, Spencer Knight. He let in one goal in that game that I thought I was watching D Division adult safe hockey.
Yeah. I think it's been a tough road for Spencer since he's come back. I mean, I actually haven't looked at his numbers, but that was a tough night for Knight. I'm not pegging the whole thing on him. I mean, the Panthers have one goal in their last 3 games. So when you're talking about sprinkling a little on the game tonight, I hope you're thinking about sprinkling it the Oilers' way. The Panthers are not in a good way right now, and they also, they're a little banged up too. So but I don't know if Barkov's back tonight. He was a game time decision in Calgary, didn't play. It's a team that's got some banged up players, and they're going to need to kickstart some turnaround of some sort soon.
Yeah, well, maybe the Oilers -1.5 tonight is the Eric Francis smart play for me. I can't believe. I think I told you the story once before when I took my son to Boston for his 10th birthday, right out of COVID, and then we went and we both got COVID and came back, and I thought my wife was going to shoot me. I'm glad she doesn't have a firearm. Seriously. So we went and watched Northeastern play Denver College, and this goaltender in net for Northeastern. Unbelievable rink, by the way. If you ever this is, I think, the last year to go watch a game there. And I'm like, who is this guy in net? And it was Devin Levi. And he played for the World Juniors that year, or the year before. And my buddy was like, yeah, he is so good. And talk about, he is just now bumming around in the minors. I think they were going to call him up. But the Buffalo Sabres, and apologize to Sabre fans, but they are a dumpster fire and have been for a long time, for a passionate fan base.
Well, and Levi is a good example. So right after you would have seen him then, his first year after he finished at college, he comes and they try to give him the starting gig. He hasn't played a game of pro hockey, and they think, okay, he could be our starter this year. Kid's talented, no question about it, but it's about management, asset management. And I'm not going to say they've ruined this kid, but they sure set him back several years by trying to make him a everyday NHLer right out of the chute. But it's symbolic of just how poorly that whole organization's been managed for 13 years now. They've been swimming in the abyss. And it all came to a head today. The owner, Terry Pagula, flew into Montreal to meet with the players, meet with the team. The players had a player-only meeting, then they had a team meeting. How the general manager there has survived this is beyond me. When Lindy, I'm not going to say fire Lindy Ruff. He's only 8 months ago they hired him, and we know he can coach in the National Hockey League. But a lot of people around the league, when that hiring was made, said that is just absolutely the wrong hire for a team in the position that the Buffalo Sabres are in right now. They're the youngest team in the National Hockey League, and Lindy Ruff is not exactly known for being a guy to work with young players. So it was a questionable move at best. It's one of many questionable moves Kevin Adams has made. I'll be shocked if this guy survives this latest tailspin from this organization. 10 losses in a row. It's time to make the change.
Some guys just don't. Go ahead, Shank.
So almost as crazy as hiring Bill Belichick to coach college football. Lindy Ruff going to coach his young guys.
We'll see about that. We talked about that just briefly the other day. That's fascinating. I can't wait to watch what Belichick does or doesn't do and all that. This is different. There were so many other great candidates that Adams had to choose from in Buffalo. And to go back to the well to Lindy Ruff, who's, again, not exactly custom made for the job. I think it was an attempt to get some cheap public relations, curry some favor there. And I'm not even sure that works. So here we are.
They should bring back Maxim Afinogenov.
I was going to say. Oh, Maxim.
It's a good one. Good pull.
Maxim had some good wheels, actually, back in the day. It almost reminds you, going back to the well, though, Francis, right? Going back to the well, the Flames tried to go back to the well with Darryl Sutter.
Yeah, and with varied results. It's funny, as I'm writing about Sam Bennett today and the possibility that could be a match in free agency this year or maybe via trade. Who knows? But if the Panthers can't sign him, they got a hell of a decision to make before the trade deadline this year. But it also made me make it think of Olli Jokinen coming back to Calgary for a second tour of duty. That was not popular. People at the time were like, "Are you kidding me? That didn't work the first time. Why would it work the second time?" So yeah, they say you can't go home, and maybe we'll find out with Bennett. We certainly found out with Lindy Ruff.
Olli Jokinen.
Are you getting what are they gonna do in Nashville?
I think everyone's just waiting for the coach to be fired and Barry Trotz to jump behind the bench, right? I mean, everyone, it just seems too logical. If you're not sure who you're going to go to, or if you don't feel like the perfect candidate is right there, then take the reins yourself. But, once you become a GM, who wants to go back into the trenches again and be a head coach? I wouldn't want to. I mean, you're getting the big money now. You don't have to. Why would you? I mean, not that the charters are a bad deal, but no one can believe that Burnett's still the head coach. Trotz knows that he's a good coach. We all know that he's a good coach. He's done some pretty good things in this league. And so I just think he's just saying, look, this isn't on the coach, this is on the players. But at some point, it has to be on the coach. So again, that seems like another inevitability there.
Who's a player there? Like Stamkos, that didn't work out. Obviously, Marchessault was this year. Like, are those guys locked there? Like, they could probably move a Luke Schenn. Like, I heard him maybe going back to Toronto. Speaking of, you can't go home again. Yeah. Like, who's available to maybe unload some pieces for the Preds if we're just gonna say this year's a write-off. It's a write-off, Jerry, and then we look ahead to next year.
Well, you look at some of these guys. Like, one of the leaders of that team, that organization, one of the classiest guys in the whole league is Ryan O'Reilly, and to me. He's the kind of guy you lean on in a case like this where you really need some leadership and some veteran savvy and some character in that room. That's a big contract you could get rid of, but I just don't see that happening at all. Listen, I think the big debate is not so much whether you're just going to fire the coach or not. I think the big debate is, are we going to go in a completely different direction? Because a lot of people they were surprised by the fact that they loaded up this summer and in a lot of people's eyes became an instant contender again. People didn't think this was kind of the right time to do that, but Trotz did, and maybe he was wrong. So maybe it's time to retrace your steps and go back to rebuilding, retooling a little bit, because I think you said it. Like, this is a lost season. Like, they're all but mathematically eliminated at this point. Now it's about just trying to see what you want to do for next year.
They would have to go on an absolute heater, which is possible. They did that last year when they all got, their behind slapped and they couldn't go to U2 at the Sphere.
Oh, yeah.
But they have dug themselves a massive hole. It'd be interesting. Sorry, Bids. I just wanted to go off on Nashville.
No worries. Yeah, anytime you can bring up the Sphere and U2, I'm okay with a little misdirection there. Okay. Eric, we always ask you about how the Calgary Flames are doing. Of course, you will follow the Flames all the time. You're part of the broadcast crew that follows them around, of course. Bruins, Flames tomorrow. Bruins in Calgary. Sens in Calgary on Thursday. And then Blackhawks, Connor Bedard and Blackhawks in on Saturday. Your thoughts on the 3-game homestand for the Flames this week?
Well, you know what's amazing, guys? Like this, have you seen the numbers that Dustin Wolf has put up at home? And I usually don't really like to separate anybody's stats from home and away, although sometimes there's an incredible disparity. But Dustin Wolf at home this year is the best goalie in the National Hockey League, and no one is even close. He's 8-1 with a 1.65 goals against average and a 949 save percentage. This is a rookie in the National Hockey League. Now, away from the Dome, he's 1-4. I think he's 1-4-1, and the numbers aren't as great. But that is an incredible elixir that they've come up with, where when you play him at home, you're almost guaranteed a win so far. They have one of the best records at home in the National Hockey League, and he's a huge part of it, like a rookie. And they've got 3 more games between now and Christmas. And I wouldn't be surprised if they played him in all three. Like Dan Vladar was, listed as day-to-day the other day. I think he'll be back. He'll be ready for action, I think, as early as Tuesday. But why not give Wolf the ball to run with these last 3 games before Christmas? So you get on a bit of a heater, give him even more confidence than he's already got, and play behind the hottest goalie in the league when he plays at home. Like it is an amazing set of statistics. Like if you did Google it and you looked up home records of goalies around the league, Ottinger's 11-2 at home. You got a couple other guys that are like 10-2, but their goals against average are nowhere near in the ones. They're in the high twos. So it's pretty impressive what he's done at home.
It's been a while since I've been in Cowtown with you, Eric. So I'm not on don't have my finger on the pulse of what's going on there and what everybody's talking about. What are the kids saying? What's number one on the charts? But maybe talk about Connor Bedard coming to, and the Hawks coming to Calgary at the end of the week. Is he still a massive draw? Are people all excited? Everybody wants to get tickets. We just heard a little bit earlier, before you popped on the show, that Justin Dunk was saying in Toronto that he took his nephew to the game and it was a big draw. Connor Bedard's still a big draw as he gets set to come to Cowtown?
Yeah, you know what? Like, I'll use my son as a barometer. Huge Bedard fan over the summer. They've already been to town earlier this year, and my son went, and it was hugely disappointing. Bedard had no points, and it was a crappy game. My son doesn't want to go to the game on Saturday now. He's 14 years old, and that's how kids are, right? What have you done for me lately? And guys, I don't know if we've done enough talking about how subpar a season Connor Bedard's had this year. Like, I know they fired the coach partly because of it. They can't seem to find anybody who's building any chemistry with him. It's been quite a disappointing. I don't think he's taken the next step that a lot of people hoped or thought he would take in his sophomore season. So look, I'm not down on him, but I do certainly think he didn't deserve to be on Team Canada. It is an afternoon game, a 2:00 game, that draws a bit of a different crowd on a Saturday. It's more of a family-oriented crowd as opposed to the drunken louts that like to show up on Saturday night for the 8 p.m. game.
Huh. Sounds like a challenge. Sounds like a challenge to all the Sasky people that are living in Calgary.
Hey, if you're a Sasky person, you're coming to the early game, you can still come, and there's still plenty of time before the game to get drunk. Don't worry. But yeah, 2:00 game, different crowd. But yeah, there's still a lot of excitement. Yes, for Bedard, but also because the Flames are like, that's got to be a win night. They got to win that game going into Christmas. So yeah, a lot of excitement for that game for sure.
Okay, while Bidsy was asking that go ahead.
Let me jump in. Sorry, you'd also asked me about Ottawa and Boston, and Boston's always a draw. All the original 6 teams are always a draw in Calgary and all over the league. Yep. But there's this kinship between Calgary and Brady Tkachuk. Do you guys remember when the Flames were in the playoffs? Yeah. And Brady Tkachuk was in the crowd, double fisting, chugging. He lifted a kid that he didn't even know. He met him minutes earlier onto his shoulders in front of his dad. In some provinces that could be quite sketchy. But it was a euphoric celebration for his brother. And, I asked him recently when I saw him, like, would you go and do something similar if the Panthers go on a big run? And he said, no, like, that was a Calgary thing. They were in the West. I'm in the East. Now I'm in the same division as my brother. It's a little bit different. And so you didn't see him. He was there. You saw him probably the final game when they won the cup. He had tears in his eyes. It was actually quite powerful. But you didn't see him, wearing Panthers colors or parading around like he did when he was in Calgary. But people in Calgary remember it, and they love him for it.
He was also in Calgary too, Eric, as you and I know too. He was a little younger. As he said, he was double fisting the beers there, the extra powerful beers that you and I know that they have at the Saddle Dome. And then he was getting ready to twirl right on down the street to Cowboys after, I think. So there were some extra elements there, I think, that had him extra happy in Calgary at the time.
Yeah.
Well, and in that vein, like, Tkachuk was here, Matthew was here, had a really good long chat with him on Saturday. They stayed here Friday night, gave Ryan Lomberg his Stanley Cup ring and celebrated with him. I think some of the boys hit the town. I'm not going to speak out of school. But then they stayed Saturday night, which is rare for an NHL team to stay Saturday night, but they did. And let's just say Cowboys was busy that night. Yeah.
Why wouldn't a guy with a Stanley Cup ring go to Cowboys? I guess.
That's
you know what?
right.
I was just while you guys were chatting here. You know what? I honestly just looked up the last 5 minutes that we've been chatting with us. What is the New Year's Eve game like in Calgary? Because Mrs. S and I are really looking. We're grasping at straws to find something to do because we have like a window of 3 days where the kids have no hockey. And I was like, hey, the Flames play the Canucks. She would really give a rip. If there's wine, though, that's good. What would that game be like? Would that be worth going to?
You know, it's a pretty good one. Like it's, I think it starts, I could look it up. I think it starts at 6 o'clock. So you get, it's a little earlier. You get a nice jump on the night. And let me see here, 31st. Nope, 7 o'clock start.
7 o'clock. Yeah.
But, games against Vancouver are always pretty, like a really great atmosphere here anyway, because it's really Calgary's most natural rival over the years. I know people think it's Edmonton, but there's actually more history in the last 20 years with Vancouver and the Flames. So it's a raucous crowd. There's tons of Vancouver fans here. And New Year's Eve, everybody's in the mood to have a good time. So, yeah, I'd highly recommend. You know what? I got season tickets. Let me look and see I don't know if I have it here. You can have my tickets if I haven't sold them. But I'll get back to you off the air on that one. It's a good time.
Do you take interesting trades? Like a Papasan chair? Or, yeah?
Yes. Get me one of those chairs. Those tickets are yours for sure.
Okay. Well, or maybe you and I just go, and if your wife drinks wine, they can just go on a wine tour while we're at the hockey game. There we go.
I love it.
Right? Espresso martini tour.
Oh, my favorite. There's a new one in my world now. I call it the Eggspresso martini. It's eggnog and espresso and all that fun stuff in a martini. Boy, boy.
That'd be good for the cholesterol for this Ukrainian over here. My doctor would be like, "What are you doing?" Okay. Well, no, I might have to ask you a few questions offline here on that, but it's a lot of fun as per usual. Do you want to vote on our bracket or no?
It's
Christmas
tainted. If I doubt my submission is still in the running.
No. We asked the Sports Cage Nation if that should be in it, and they said they wouldn't even put it in the secondary bracket. So maybe next year.
Okay.
But Band-Aid, I know, that's what I said. Band-Aid against Dolly Parton Hard Candy Christmas.
Band-Aid.
Tough.
I'm going Band-Aid. Yeah.
Me too.
Okay. And then Jose Feliciano, international entry against Bing Crosby from the United States of America.
White Christmas. Yeah, I got to go White Christmas.
Okay.
Like it really might be the Christmas carol or Christmas song, Bing Crosby. But hey, different crowd, different audiences. I mean, your crowd doesn't even like Elvis, so it's hurtful, and I don't like it.
Elvis is still in it.
Elvis is still in it.
Well, mine was Blue Christmas.
No, you. What was you played it today? Eric wanted some song we've never heard of.
I said the one that resonates in my house is Candy Cane Lane from Sia. And I knew that wasn't getting on your list. That was just a bit of an outlier. But no, Blue Christmas from Elvis is my favorite. That's the one I added to the list.
Well, that's still in.
He's up against Mariah Carey tomorrow. Absolute wagon.
Ooh.
Yeah, tough one.
Text me offline to let me know how that goes. Wow.
Okay. Let's go. New Year's Eve espresso martini tour downtown Calgary, brought to you by the Sports Cage. Eric Francis joining us. Hey, you're with Maz on Wednesday. Have a good Christmas. I won't talk to you.
Okay, happy holidays. Text me offline. We'll talk. Cheers, boys.
Hey, pal. Take care, buddy. Yeah, take care, brother.